Have you ever felt like you're looking for something, but you just can't quite put your finger on what it is? Like there's a piece missing somewhere. Well, today we're going to do a deep dive, and maybe we'll find that missing piece, or at least a map to it. We're going to be talking about way back home today, and the idea of finding our way back to our spiritual heart.
Which is such an interesting concept because it's not a physical place, is it? It's this idea of home being a state of being rather than a place. Less about packing your bags and more about kind of like an inner journey.
Yeah, so
Almost.
no need to like worry about real estate prices or anything like that. Phew.
Exactly.
But yeah, the article describes this home as this feeling of deep alignment. It's like almost like, shedding all the masks that we kind of put on for the world and just getting to that place where we can just be our true selves.
Exactly. Stripping away all of that, all of those expectations that are external and really connecting with that core essence. It's I think a good analogy is if we're constantly trying to fit ourselves into molds that other people have created for us, it's almost like wearing shoes that are size too small, you know? And finding home is about stepping into shoes that fit perfectly, allowing us to move freely and confidently.
I love that analogy. You mentioned the word core essence there,
Yeah.
and the article actually talks about connecting with our divine essence. Are those the same thing? What exactly does that mean?
That's a great question. And I think divine essence is one of those terms that can be interpreted in many different ways, depending on your own personal belief system, you
Uh,
know? So for some people, they might connect that to the idea of a higher power. Some might connect it to just this idea of universal energy. And others might just view it as the truest, most authentic version of themselves. But regardless of how you interpret it, I think the core of it is about connecting to something deeper, something beyond just kind of the surface level of our everyday lives.
Okay, so we're shedding expectations. We're connecting with this core self or divine essence or however we want to put it. But what's the payoff? What's so great about finding this home within?
Well, the article highlights things like freedom, abundance, peace. And these aren't just like, nice sounding words. When you're in alignment with your true self, your energy shifts. And so because of that, your decisions become clearer, your relationships become more authentic. You start to naturally attract what aligns with your purpose. It's almost like you're finally in the flow of life rather than constantly swimming upstream.
Now, you just touched on the word purpose, and the article actually does link this idea of finding home with aligning with our soul's purpose. What if someone's listening, they're like, well, I don't even know what my purpose is. Is that like a deal breaker? Like, can they not go on this journey home?
No, not at all. I think, in fact, sometimes the journey itself is what helps us uncover that purpose. So it's not always about having this grand plan from the get-go, but it's about making choices that feel right, that feel resonant with who we are at our core. And those choices, even if they're seemingly small, act almost like breadcrumbs leading us back home.
So it's more about the journey itself than necessarily a specific destination. Kind of reminds me of, one of those like winding paths in a beautiful garden.
Yeah.
You're enjoying the scenery, you're enjoying the journey as much as you're looking forward to wherever it is that path might lead.
Precisely. And like any journey, it's not always going to be, easy. There's going to be obstacles. There's going to be moments of doubt. There might even be times when we feel completely lost. But that's part of the process, The key is to keep moving, even if it's just one tiny step at a time. And remember, every step that we take in alignment with our true self is a step closer to home.
And speaking of steps, the article doesn't just focus on individual transformation, does it? It talks about this collective shift, creating a new world as more and more people find their way home. Sounds pretty ambitious.
It is. And I think what's so fascinating about this concept is that it highlights the interconnectedness of everything. So when individuals start to embrace their authenticity, it creates these ripple effects. And so if you imagine a world where everyone is living in alignment with their purpose, contributing their unique gifts, that's a world that's full of passion and creativity and genuine connection. It's very different from the kind of the disconnect and competition that we often see.
It's like, as each person finds their light and lets it shine, it starts to illuminate the world around them.
Exactly.
So to kind of wrap things up here and bring it back to our listener today, we've been exploring this idea of home as an internal state of being, not a physical location. It's about shedding those external expectations and embracing our true selves, our divine essence, whatever that may mean for you.
And remembering that the journey back home is about intention. It's about trust. And it's about taking those steps, no matter how small, towards aligning with your true self. So as you continue on your own journey, I would encourage you to ask yourself, What could the world look like if everyone felt truly at home within themselves? And how can you, starting today, contribute to creating that world? What's the first step that you can take to begin your journey back home?
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you then.